Hey, I'm Dustin with OVP, and this is our Rainier build on the Transit Trail. Now, we don't do a ton of transit builds, but it's really nice to be able to showcase the things that are different. And a lot of people in states like California, where it's harder to register a diesel vehicle, they'll go for the transits. People who are looking to tow a little bit more, or maybe just have a little bit better off-the-line acceleration. We'll go through all of the pros and cons of building on the Transit chassis, but we're going to give you a little tour of the Rainier build and how it looks in the Transit. So really excited to show this to you guys. It's just my favorite Seat 2 Sleep 2 model, and we can also do it with the Seat 4 Sleep 4 by using that Alpine VanWorks bench to bed. That's going to replace this bench that I'm going to show you. It's just a really all-around great layout. It's got everything you need and nothing you don't. So let's take a look. So starting with the chassis itself, this is the Ford Transit 2024 Transit Trail. So this is built on the 148 wheelbase with the high roof. The Trail model has a couple things going on with it right now with a recall, which are hopefully sorted out by the time this video launches. But the Trail model, you get kind of the Raptor trim. So you've got these big fender flares, you've got a slightly larger tire, it's a 29-inch tire, 29.5. Different wheels that have a little bit better offset. It comes with these running boards from the factory. You get these extra goody lights and a Raptor grille. You can get the Trail model with a roof vent and a couple other features, but that's really if you're going to do a DIY build, it's great. But if you're going to do a professional build, then you probably want to place that roof vent in the spot that fits best with the build out. So that's what we've done here. We ordered it without the roof vent. It does have upfitter switches and a little tiny inverter, but most of those are rarely used. So that's why we've got the Trail model here. It does have that 2-inch lift as well, which I forgot to mention. However, the 2-inch lift really does need some extra shocks put in to make it more off-road worthy. So it's got a lift, but it's got the factory shocks. So your dampening is totally factory. So what we've done is we've added the Falcon rear shocks, which are adjustable from Van Compass, and that really helps the ride. I alluded to some of the difference between a Transit and a Sprinter before. We like both chassis. They are, I think, for different use cases. Each one has its place, right? So this Transit Trail is lifted 2 inches, and it has a 29-inch tire on it, but that is still lower. Well, it's about the same as a factory 2-wheel drive Sprinter. So your ground clearance with the Transit is just never going to be what we can get with the Sprinter. The Sprinter's got, up to a 33-inch tire in keeping all your factory settings, and I've seen people go to 35, 37 if they really want to go crazy. So ground clearance wise, the Transit's not quite going to get you where the Sprinter gets you. However, it's got a twin turbocharged V6 gas engine that you can do 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, which is incredible. The Sprinter is definitely a lot longer than that. Being a gas vehicle, you don't have to deal with DEF, you don't have to deal with emission systems. There's definitely some benefits there, especially if you live in California, where it can be really difficult to register a diesel vehicle. And they're just trying to make it more and more difficult every day, seems like. Another benefit is that you have a bit higher towing capacity with a Transit. And you do have a taller ceiling. So the ceiling ends up being, I think, 3 inches taller inside. So for somebody who's really tall, that's nice. For somebody who's really tall, you also need to consider the fact that the driving position is very different on a Transit. And that might not suit you because it is a bit lower and it's less truck-like, more SUV-like. So there's just some things to consider. The Sprinter is going to get better gas mileage, but you're going to be buying DEF. Diesel's usually more expensive. There's other factors to consider. So when deciding, it's really important to do all your research. There's also questions about service on the Sprinter van. It is easier to find service on a Ford, but we do find that it can be pretty tricky on both. Costs of repair can be more expensive on the Sprinter, but it can be more frequent on a Transit. So there's trade-offs on everything. So definitely weigh your pros and cons before you go for it. The last thing that we're looking at here is the Fiamma roof rack. The Fiamma awning. it is mounted to a flatline roof rack because the transit van doesn't really have anywhere to mount a awning without putting a rack on. So we've got the flatline roof rack. It works really well. It gives you a nice flat surface to mount that beyond the F45 awning. Let's go look at the inside. So while you're using your van, a lot of the time spent is going to be right out here in the patio, which is why we've got the awning here, which is why we've got some patio lights up above, and it's also why we have this excellent drop-down table. This table has a light so that you can light up your bar or your cooking station or whatever you're going to do here. A lot of people bring like a little camp stove, set it up here so they can cook outside with gas. Or if you have a portable induction cooktop, you can take it, bring it out here and cook with it. This is set up with a support arm. We used to do them with a cable, but we found that this was a bit easier. So that just comes up like that. Nice solid catch. We've also included a step extension here where you've got some space for flip-flops or whatever you want to throw down there, dog poop bags, whatever. And then I like to have the fridge pointing forward. We use this drawer style fridge so that you can come on up with your shopping cart and put in all your groceries without having to go in and out of the rig. This is the Isotherm 130. So it has a decent sized freezer, which you can fit 6 pints of ice cream in, very important. It's got this crisper drawer, and then your main storage. So a lot of people ask, oh, isn't that hard to get into? But since it brings it out, you're not like reaching in and trying to grab in like a door style fridge, which is why this is our primary fridge that we use. So you've got your juices and your milk and all the other things, they kind of stand up vertically. There's also this handy dandy wine bottle holder. Don't forget about that. And then anything that's really small, sour cream tub, lunch meat, things like that, half-eaten onion, that all goes right up here. So you're not digging through things to get to your food. It's actually a really nice way to organize things. All right, let's take a look at the shower because I get a lot of questions about it. Okay, so this is our convertible shower system. This can be used in our Shasta models, Rainier models. We can retrofit it to the Seat 4, Sleep 4 models as well, like the Mazama and the Thielsen. But what we do basically is we've got this in-floor shower pan. This has a nice grate that makes it easy to step on, so you're not stepping on the cold stainless steel. It's also nice because it creates kind of a walk-off mat, like you'd find in a commercial building, where, as you walk in here, some of the stuff from the bottom of your shoes gets knocked into this, and then it just goes out into the gray tank, or you can vacuum it up if it's a whole bunch. But other than that, it's flush with the floor. A lot of people will put a rug here to cover it up, and it really doesn't take up any space. We were out at an event in Moab, and there was a couple of revels there. There was a lot of revels there that we were hanging out with, and they all had their shower full of stuff. And so we ended up having 5 or 6 people shower in our convertible shower because they had these big full height showers that were full of their gear because they had no other place to store things. So I thought that was really great. There was enough water with our 30-gallon tank to shower all the people. The glycol system kept it nice and hot. So pretty sweet setup. The shower head is actually right here. This guy comes out, and I'm going to show you how the curtain system works to keep all the water contained. Basically, the entire shower fits in this bag. And this is also your soap bag when you're in the shower. This guy turns inside out. And then it connects up to the ceiling with these L-track dots. This guy feeds through this slot in the shower curtain. And the shower curtain actually magnetizes down to some embedded magnets that we have in that pan, which I'll show you in a second. And then all you do is you turn on your valve here, turn on the water pump, make sure your water's hot, and you've got a nice hot shower. All the water gets trained right down into there, goes into the gray tank. You let it hang dry for about 15 minutes when you're done to get the majority of the water out. Roll it back up into a ball and put it away. You can even have it pushed out of the way like this while you're letting it dry, so it's not totally blocking your entrance. Put your shower hose away. And you're back together. It's my favorite way to shower, just because it doesn't take up that much room in your van. Now, if this is a 170 Sprinter, you've got 14 interior feet that you can work with. You can have your lengthwise bed, you can have your full interior height shower, which some people like to have a little bit of privacy. But on a short wheelbase like this, with only 10 interior feet to work with, half of that is taken up by the bed. This is really the best way to save space and still get your queen size bed. So let's take a look at the rest of the interior. So starting at the back and working our way forward, up here we have a 12 volt air conditioner, actually a 48 volt air conditioner because we have an EcoFlow setup in this cabinet. So this is going to run on 48 volts, which is nice because you're not running a 110 volt AC appliance, which means you don't have to have your inverter on to run it. When you run your inverter, you can basically assume that you're going to lose 10 to 20% of your battery in that conversion from DC to AC. So running a DC air conditioner, especially something with such a high load, it runs 900 to 1100 watts. If you were trying to run that same wattage on a 110 volt appliance through your inverter, you would actually be pulling 1300 watts from your batteries. So you save a decent amount of power and you can run your AC longer and run the rest of your appliances longer. So that's what we have up here. This is our Murphy bed. This is fairly standard in our builds. Some people really never put it up into this position. They leave it down all the time, they leave it made. I think that's great. I'm that person. One of our build manager, Jordan, he puts it up every single time he gets to camp, and whenever he's done sleeping, he goes straight into Murphy mode so that he can use this whole countertop, right? At this point, with it up, we have an 8-foot long countertop that's totally functional. It's all the same material. You also have the ability to walk from front to back as long as you don't have a bunch of gear in here. And I do get that question a lot. Isn't that usually full of gear? And that's my argument for having it and for not having it. In my case, when I'm using this rig with the Rainier layout or with any Murphy bed, I have most of my gear hanging on hangers on this strip of L-track. So it's all up against the driver's side. I've got 2 inflatable paddle boards. I've usually got 3 backpacks. And then if I'm on a longer trip, I've probably got some bins, maybe some Rubbermaid bins. And those I stack here, and we'll put some extra L-tracks so we can tie them to that wall. That way they're not sliding around. That leaves this whole side open. And I have a couple clients who have the same setup, and they still can fit 2 bikes in here, front to back, attached to L-track in the floor or in a slide-out tray. So lots of space back here. It's 38 inches by 35.5 inches tall, and it's about 60 inches long. Lots of space back here. So there's just a multitude of possibilities. To put the bed down, it's quite simple. There's a couple of barrel bolts that you detach. This is really light. I haven't had a single client that had too much trouble doing it. This just lays totally flat. And the mattress comes down. Just like that. One thing that we find really important here at OVP is that you have a really comfortable place to sleep, and as long as the client doesn't have some other requirements, we usually have a queen size bed at minimum. A lot of the off-the-shelf RVs, they advertise a queen size bed, but really it's like 48 inches wide or you know, even 50 inches wide. Some of the most popular off-the-shelf ones, you know who I'm talking about. This is a queen size bed. This is 60 inches wide and 80 inches long. Because you don't want to be, you know, bumping elbows with your partner the whole time that you're trying to sleep. So love this Murphy bed setup. This is a Roam Rest mattress. It's our own custom layup of foam. You can only get it with our mattresses and our vans. Clients absolutely love it. I sleep like a baby on this thing. What is nice about the setup is that you can leave your sheets on, and if you have a thin, I like to use a thin heavy quilt, like a quilted comforter, that can actually stay on as well. And then your pillows get tucked into the flare opening on the other side. So all of your bedding can stay with this unless you have a really thick, puffy comforter. Easy as that. All right, coming to the front, we've got an ample amount of storage. This setup here with the full height pantry is great for clothes up top. And then you've got lots of drawer space down below where you can keep food, utensils, you know, flashlights, things like that. This cubby here, which is right inside the lowest compartment, it has a couple of charging ports in it, USB 110, USB-C, and that's actually accessible from the bed. So you can plug in your phone, set it in here. You're not having it sit on you or under the pillow when you're sleeping. You can actually have it away from you, charging, you know, reach for your Nalgene bottle or your Stanley, obviously, and still be able to get to everything. We've got this set up with a super large lower drawer, like super deep, specifically for wine bottles. I mean, obviously, what else? On this side, we've got the sink, nice cutting board. The way that we cut in our cooktops is totally flush. So this cutting board can be right here, it's not rocking. And I usually recommend people cut on one side, leave the other side pretty. Nice big Rivati sink. Soap dispensers are standard in our builds because you don't want to have a, you know, soap bottle bouncing around in there while you're driving. And then we've got the nice low profile sink, but still enough that you can get a pan underneath. Not standard in our builds, but definitely something we do often is the 2-burner built-in cooktop. Typically in our standard build, we have just a single burner portable that you'd probably keep in here. They opted to get the recessed built-in one. This is just a screen, so we have ample ventilation for the fridge. Then we have a Lagoon mount here, so you can bolt your table in and be able to use it at this bench. And typically in a Sprinter van, we'd also have one towards the front. This bench is used for primarily storage. So under here, you have your Lagoon table. It's all stowed nice and neat under here with base and everything, with just tons of storage under that. And then behind it, we've got our Trolino composting toilet. Really great option. They have this one set up with a step, so you can use a step to get into bed. And it has a diverter separator in it, so your solids go to the back and the liquids go to the front. And I believe the way these are set up is with a bag system, although I think that you can compost. I think it's kind of a quasi-composting toilet. That just tucks right in there, with plenty of room for, you know, toilet paper, whatever else you need to have. It tucks away nicely. Doesn't, you never see it, you know, it's just really nice the way that cleans up. Upper cabinets are all beveled so that if you hit your head on them, you're not gonna bleed to death. The controls in this van are really simple to use. We have our favorite heat and hot water system, Rixon's, up here at the top. This is gonna do your heat, your air heat, your water heat, and your floor heat. So what it is you have a gasoline burner, because this is a transit, so it's gasoline burner under the van. That's gonna heat up coolant, antifreeze coolant. That coolant is gonna get pumped around to first to a tank and then to all of the different systems. So if I want to turn on hot water here, then I'm going to fire this up. I'm going to tell it to do hot water. I'm not going to do it because we're inside and it's going to gas out the place, but tell it to turn on hot water. It's going to pump that hot glycol, antifreeze, to a heat exchanger and exchange that heat with the water and bring it right over here. So we're not heating up a giant tank. It's on demand. You're only, the lines that we've got running to the sink are 3/8 inch lines. So by the time the hot water gets to the sink, you've wasted less than a cup of water. Really great system. So that's how it does hot water. That's going to come to the front shower and also to the rear shower. It's going to have floor heat and interior heat. So if you turn on the floor heat, it's going to pump that glycol through a bunch of PEX lines in the floor that have heat exchanger plates. What's really fun about that system is it's going to prioritize the floor. So the floor will keep it warm in here down to about 20 degrees outside. It's going to keep it very temperate. And then if you open that slider door, then you're going to let a bunch of cold air in. The temperature sensor, wherever it landed, is going to sense that. It's going to kick on the air heat. It's going to blow out of these vents right here. It's going to heat the temperature back up, and then the air heat will turn off, and it's going to go back to prioritizing heating by the floor. We like that because the fans of the air heater, they have some noise, right? It's a fan. You hear this constant blowing. Still the quietest fans on the market, but you hear it. Whereas the floor heat is totally silent. The little pumps, you don't hear them at all. Just pumping that hot glycol through the floor, and you get this nice, even, radiant heat throughout the whole van. So really, really like that setup. And this is the touchscreen controller for that. Down here, we have our, this is the EcoFlow system. So this is the whole power hub. This particular van is a 10 kilowatt system with room to expand to 15 kilowatts. So 3 batteries, they're 5 kilowatts each. So 48 volt system, and then it has a converter to go to all your 12 volt modes. So your fan, your lights, all that stuff is going to be running on 12 volt. And what's great about it is that it's all showing right here in all of these different circuits. So the first 6 circuits are all switched. So we can actually turn these on and off just right here on the panel. These are your undercab, your overcab, your patio lights, those outside lights. And then we have our overhead lights on these switches here, just for simplicity, so you don't have to tap into the screen. Just a nice physical switch is always nice. The thing I like about this the most is that you get a readout of how much each circuit is drawing. So we can see how much our patio lights are drawing. We can see how much our undercabs are drawing. If our fridge was on, it would show that, although it's not a switch circuit. It's still giving us the amount of power that's being used by the fridge. Main lights drawing 14 watts. If I turn that off, see it's dropping down to 9 watts because we only have the front ones on. So really helps when you're troubleshooting. It's just really, really nice to have all those wattages. And then if we go to the home screen, we can see how long we have left at the current usage. So we're only at 30% battery, which means that we have 23 hours left at this usage level. If I were to turn everything else on, maybe if I turn on the AC power with this little switch here that turns on the inverter, we'll see that go down. And you'll hear all of the appliances turn on. So see, we're dropping down 19, 18 hours left. And that's because the cooktop is pulling some vampire power. All the outlets, everything has a little bit of vampire power. Even the inverter itself uses some power just being on. And if we turn that back off, that starts to go back up. You can also see how much you're getting from all of your different inputs. Now we're inside right now, and it's winter in Oregon, so even if we were outside, we wouldn't be getting a ton of solar, but you have your 2 solar inputs, you have your AC shore power input, and your alternator input. The new EcoFlow system is coming out with a whole bunch of fun new things, which I'm excited to do a video on in a couple months. But I can't talk about that stuff yet. You can even shut down your charging sources if you want to. I don't know why you would, but if you don't want to get alternator charging for some reason, you can turn it off. If you don't want to get solar for some reason, maybe you're troubleshooting, then you can turn those off here. But the home screen just makes things really, really easy. We can even turn off our DC loads, but then we'd kill the lights and you wouldn't be able to see me. So that's the EcoFlow system. Troubleshooting is very easy. It definitely has, you know, there's some things about a Victron system or lithionic system that can be much better than this, but this has the benefits of being a bit less expensive and just a lot of simplicity, right? Very plug and play, costs the client less, and troubleshooting is really pretty easy. All right, well, that is our Rainier layout in the Transit, and I really love this layout. It's really great for two. It can be expanded just by swapping out this to seat and sleep 3 to 4, depending on the size of the kids. Or you can have your friend tag along and they can sleep on this bed. Once that's spun around, it's almost a full set. All right, so that is the Rainier layout on the Transit van. And if you want to check out some other videos on winterizing or the Recon system, EcoFlow, we have other videos out and more videos coming. So make sure to like and subscribe. All right, cheers.